The 5 Love Languages for Singles by Gary Chapman. Picture this, a young man named Rob, standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon, taking in one of nature's most spectacular views. But here's the thing that makes this moment so powerful. Rob is wearing a back brace with a metal halo around his head, a souvenir from a hiking accident that nearly ended his life. For 2 years, Rob and his parents had been planning this trip. First year? Money problems got in the way. Second year? Well, that's when Rob took his fall. Now they were finally here, and though their dream of hiking to the canyon's bottom was off the table, simply being there together meant everything. Later that week, Rob struck up a conversation in the lodge with someone he'd briefly met on the trail. For 2 solid hours, he poured out his story. The terrifying fall, the helicopter rescue, pain that defied description, and those dark days of depression when walking seemed like an impossible dream. The man listening, a counselor, couldn't help but notice something remarkable. Despite everything Rob had been through, there was this undeniable light in his eyes. Finally, he had to ask, "What got you through it all? How did you come out the other side with your spirit still intact?" Rob's answer came down to just one word. "Love," he said simply. "That's the only way I survived. My mom and dad never left my side. And I had this friend, this girl I wasn't dating but was incredibly close to, who showed up every single day. She brought me hope when I had none left. She encouraged me when I couldn't encourage myself. She prayed with me." He paused, searching for the right words. "Her words were like rain falling on my parched emotions. Between her love and my parents' love, somehow I made it through." That story? It perfectly captures what we're diving into today. There's this fundamental truth we often miss in the chaos of daily life. Our deepest emotional need, the fuel that powers our greatest victories and carries us through our darkest moments, is feeling loved. The counselor who heard Rob's story was Dr. Gary Chapman, and for over 30 years, he's dedicated his career to understanding this single, powerful force. His first book, The 5 Love Languages, flew off shelves, over 2 million copies, not because it was packed with complicated theories, but because it revealed a simple, profound secret that transformed struggling marriages. But then something unexpected happened. Single people started picking it up. College students would say, "Wait, this finally helped me understand my roommate." Young professionals would exclaim, "This completely changed how I connect with my family and coworkers." The message was universal. You need to write this for us. So he did. What we're about to explore is the 5 love languages for singles. And here's what makes it so valuable. This isn't just about romance. It's about mastering the fundamental skill of human connection that enriches every relationship in your life. Parents, siblings, friends, and yes, eventually a romantic partner. By the time we're done, you'll have what I call a master key. It unlocks the mystery of why you sometimes feel so disconnected from people you genuinely care about, and it provides a practical roadmap for building the kind of deep, supportive relationships that can feel like rain on a parched soul. Just like for Rob, this is about more than just surviving. It's about thriving. Every human being, whether you're 17 or 70, married or single, has what Dr. Chapman calls an emotional love tank. When that tank's running full, you feel secure, confident, ready to take on the world. But when it's running on empty, life feels like you're constantly pushing a boulder uphill. You feel drained, misunderstood, isolated. Here's the problem. We typically try to fill other people's tanks the same way we want ours filled. But what if the person you're trying to love has a completely different kind of tank? What if you're essentially pouring diesel into a car that runs on unleaded? This is the breakthrough Chapman discovered over years of counseling. He realized people speak different love languages. And just like speaking English to someone who only understands Japanese won't create connection, expressing love in a language someone doesn't understand leaves them feeling empty. He discovered there are 5 core emotional love languages, not 50, not 100, just 5, and understanding them changes everything. Let's start with a story that perfectly shows how missing this simple concept creates so much confusion. Meet Brian, a former football star, handsome, successful at his job, seemingly the complete package. But he came to Chapman deeply frustrated. He wanted to get married and start a family, but his relationships never lasted more than a few months. The women would always end things, citing incompatibility, or saying they didn't have much in common. Brian was completely baffled. He admitted, "I'm not great at conversation. When things get personal, I freeze up." Chapman, drawing on decades of wisdom, knew where to dig. He asked about Brian's childhood. Brian described his relationship with his father as, quote, strained. His dad was an alcoholic, rarely around, and when he was present, he was brutally critical. Brian never forgot the one time his father showed up to a college game, only to say, "You'll never make it to the pros playing like that." Those words crushed him. He never once heard his father say, "I love you," or "I'm proud of you." His childhood home was filled with discouraging words. And there it was, the missing piece. Brian grew up in a home where the first love language, words of affirmation, wasn't just absent, it was replaced with its toxic opposite, criticism. Because he never received affirming words, he never learned to give them. Chapman asked him, "Did you ever compliment the women you dated on how they looked?" Brian paused, thinking, "No, I don't think so." He assumed they knew he liked their movie choices or how they dressed. He thought just showing up was enough. But for them, his silence translated to indifference. Brian had a painful realization. He was repeating the pattern, often criticizing the women he dated, pointing out areas where they needed to improve, just like his father had done to him. With tears streaming down his face, he asked, "Is there any hope? How can I give something I never received?" This is where Chapman's work truly shines. He told Brian that love is a choice, and these languages can be learned. He gave Brian a practical, step-by-step plan. For 3 months, he needed to end every phone call with his parents by saying, "I love you." The first time he said it to his mother, she immediately replied, "I love you too." The first time he said it to his father, his dad responded with a confused, "What?" But Brian kept going. 3 months later, his father finally said it back, "I love you too." The emotional floodgates opened. Brian had finally heard the words he'd been longing for his entire life. He started practicing at work, giving a specific compliment to a coworker once a week. He created a notebook, writing down affirming things he could say to his next girlfriend. A year later, he introduced Chapman to Linda, his girlfriend. He was transformed, fluent in a language he never knew existed. Brian's story reveals the incredible power of words of affirmation. This language uses words to build people up. It's about expressing genuine appreciation, encouragement, and kindness. For someone whose primary love language is this, your words carry immense weight. A simple compliment can make their entire week, while harsh criticism can devastate their spirit. But what if words don't fill your tank? Enter the second love language, acts of service. For people who speak this language, actions genuinely speak louder than words. The phrase, "Let me help you with that," is music to their ears. This isn't about becoming someone's doormat. It's about freely choosing to serve them to make their life easier. It's fixing that leaky faucet, cleaning the kitchen without being asked, or running an errand when they're swamped. Chapman shares the story of Martha, who was dating a wonderful man. He was constantly helping her, fixing her computer, installing a lock on her door, even unjamming her stuck windows. She told Chapman, "This man is incredible. I want him in my life forever." But here's the twist. She had zero romantic feelings for him. She was genuinely confused. Why did she feel so connected, yet not attracted? Chapman asked about her father. Martha's face lit up. "Dad and I were always close. He could fix anything. He was always there when I needed him." Click. The light bulb went on. Martha's primary love language was acts of service. She felt deeply loved by her father because he constantly performed acts of service for her. This new man was speaking her language fluently, filling her love tank to overflowing. She felt loved and cared for, but because she didn't understand the mechanism, she confused deep appreciation with romantic attraction. Understanding this helped her navigate the friendship with honesty and clarity. It's a perfect reminder that these languages apply to all relationships, not just romantic ones. Now, some people don't primarily need you to say something nice or do something helpful. For them, the most valuable thing you can give is your time. This is the third love language, quality time. This isn't about just occupying the same space. It's about giving someone your focused, undivided attention. It's putting your phone away, turning off the television, and truly listening. Quality time has two main dialects. First is quality conversation. This is sympathetic dialogue, where you're not just waiting for your turn to talk, you're listening to truly understand. You're asking questions about their thoughts, feelings, dreams. You're offering them the gift of your full presence. Many of us, especially men, are natural fixers. We hear a problem and immediately want to offer a solution. But often, the person sharing doesn't want advice. They want to be heard. They want to know you understand. The second dialect is quality activities. This is about doing something together, where the focus isn't really the activity itself, but the fact that you're doing it together. It could be taking a walk, playing a game, going on a trip. The activity creates shared memories you can draw on for years. For someone whose language is quality time, these shared experiences are the foundation of a strong relationship. Next, we have a language that's often misunderstood. The fourth love language is receiving gifts. Immediately, some of us might think this sounds materialistic, but Chapman makes a crucial distinction. A gift is a tangible symbol that says, "I was thinking of you." It's not about the price tag, it's about the thought behind it. A wildflower picked from the roadside can communicate more than an expensive gift given out of obligation. He shares a wonderful story about a young man named Chris who was dating a woman named Bridget. Chris was bothered because Bridget's bedroom was filled with at least 50 teddy bears. She was 26 years old and slept with them every night. He found it strange, even a little concerning. Chapman, listening carefully, asked where the bears came from. Chris explained most were gifts. Her parents had given her one every year for her birthday since childhood. Her aunts, uncles, and even a few ex-boyfriends had contributed the rest. She knew who gave her each one and when. The answer became crystal clear. Bridget's primary love language was receiving gifts. Those teddy bears weren't just stuffed animals. Each one was a symbol of love. Each bear said, "Someone was thinking of me. Someone loves me." Asking her to get rid of them would be like asking her to throw away tangible reminders of her family's love. Once Chris understood this, his entire perspective shifted. He went from being weirded out by the teddy bears to realizing he'd just been given the secret code to her heart. He learned that giving her a small, thoughtful gift was the most powerful way to make her feel loved. It wasn't about the object, it was about the message it carried. Finally, we arrive at the most fundamental language of all. The fifth love language is physical touch. Long before we can understand words, we understand touch. Research shows that babies who are held, hugged, and touched develop healthier emotional lives than those who aren't. Touch is a powerful communicator of love, connection, and security. For someone whose primary language is physical touch, a hug can communicate more than 1,000 words of praise. A reassuring hand on the shoulder during a difficult time, holding hands while walking, or a simple pat on the back can instantly fill their love tank. Of course, in the world of singles, this language requires wisdom. Chapman is crystal clear. This is not primarily about sexuality. It's about appropriate, affirming touch. A hostile touch communicates hate. An inappropriate touch is a violation. But a loving, respectful touch is a profound expression of care. The key is learning what the other person is comfortable with. For someone who didn't grow up in a touching family, this language might feel awkward at first. But like any language, it can be learned. So we have the 5 languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, receiving gifts, and physical touch. But this raises a critical question. How do you figure out your own primary love language, and, just as importantly, the language of the people you care about? Chapman offers 3 simple diagnostic tools. First, observe your own behavior. How do you most often express love to others? We naturally tend to speak our own language. If you're constantly giving compliments, your language is probably words of affirmation. If you're always offering to help, it's likely acts of service. Second, notice what you request most often. If you find yourself saying, "Can we just spend some time together, just the 2 of us?" you're asking for quality time. If you say, "A hug would be really nice right now," you're asking for physical touch. Our requests often reveal our deepest needs. Third, listen to your complaints. What hurts you most? If you complain, "You never help me with anything," you're revealing that acts of service matters to you. If your deepest hurt comes from a forgotten birthday or anniversary, receiving gifts is likely your language. The opposite of what hurts you most is probably your primary love language. You can use these same 3 tools to discover others' languages. Observe how they show love, listen to their requests, pay attention to their complaints. Chapman tells a great story about a college freshman named Reed, whose roommate Brad was driving him absolutely crazy. Brad was a complete slob, dirty clothes everywhere, empty cans scattered around, a half-eaten Snickers bar on his desk attracting an army of ants. Reed, naturally organized, was about to explode. Instead of confronting Brad in anger, Reed used Chapman's advice. First, he figured out Brad's love language. He noticed Brad was always thanking people and saying positive things. His language was words of affirmation. So for 3 weeks, Reed made it a point to say one positive, affirming thing to Brad every day. He filled Brad's love tank first. Then he made a simple, respectful request. "Brad, could you please keep your shoes under the bed? I keep tripping over them." He also added, "By the way, if there's anything I do that annoys you, please let me know." The result was astonishing. Brad was not only happy to move his shoes, but over time, their whole dynamic transformed. He started cleaning up. They became genuine friends. Reed didn't manipulate Brad. He created a climate of love and respect where a request could be heard not as a demand, but as a way to make their shared life better. This brings us to one of the most important concepts in the book, especially for dating relationships. It's the difference between the in-love experience and what Chapman calls covenant love. The in-love experience is that euphoric, obsessive stage at the beginning of a relationship. It's what we call falling in love. It's effortless. It's driven by instinct and powerful emotions. But here's the crucial fact most people miss. Research shows the average lifespan of this obsessive stage is 2 years. After that, the tingles fade. You come down from the emotional high and start seeing the other person realistically, flaws and all. This is where many couples break up, thinking they've fallen out of love. But Chapman argues this is actually where real love begins. Real lasting love, covenant love, isn't a feeling. It's a choice. It's choosing to intentionally look out for the well-being of the other person. And the 5 love languages are the tools you use to make that choice a reality. They're how you keep emotional love alive long after the initial obsession has passed. A successful marriage isn't built on the shifting sands of the in-love feeling. It's built on the solid rock of shared values, mutual respect, and the daily choice to speak your partner's primary love language. Dating, then, isn't just about finding someone who gives you the tingles. It's about discovering if you and another person have a compatible foundation, intellectually, socially, emotionally, and spiritually, to build a lifetime of intentional love. Ultimately, the 5 love languages for singles is a guidebook for connection. It teaches us that while the desire to feel loved is universal, the way we experience that love is deeply personal. By taking the time to learn and speak the unique language of the people in our lives, our parents, our children, our friends, our co-workers, we're giving them one of the greatest gifts, the feeling of being truly seen, truly understood, and truly deeply loved. As we step back and look at the ideas in the 5 love languages for singles, what strikes me isn't their complexity, but their profound simplicity. In a world that often makes relationships feel like an unsolvable puzzle, Gary Chapman hands us 5 simple keys and tells us that one of them will almost certainly unlock the heart of anyone we care about. The true genius of this book is that it takes the abstract, almost mystical concept of love and makes it practical. It reframes love not as a passive feeling that happens to us, but as an active, intentional choice we make. It's a skill that can be learned, a language that can be practiced until we become fluent. This shift in perspective is revolutionary. It moves us from being victims of our emotions to being architects of our relationships. Why does this message resonate so deeply, especially today? I believe it's because we're living in an age of unprecedented disconnection. We have more ways to connect than ever before. Social media, text messages, video calls, yet study after study shows we're lonelier than ever. We scroll through highlight reels of other people's lives, exchanging superficial likes, while our own emotional love tanks run on empty. Chapman's work is a powerful antidote to this shallow connectivity. It calls us back to the fundamentals of what it means to be human, to give and receive focused, meaningful attention. The most powerful lesson for a young person, especially someone your age, is that this framework empowers you to change the dynamic of any relationship, starting now. You don't have to wait for someone else to change. You don't have to remain frustrated by a parent who doesn't seem to get you or a friend who feels distant. Like Brian the football player, or Reed with his messy roommate, you can be the one who takes the initiative. By choosing to love first, by choosing to learn and speak their language, you create the very climate you wish to live in. So how can you put this into practice today? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, your journey begins with self-discovery. Take a few quiet minutes and ask yourself those 3 diagnostic questions. 1. How do I naturally express appreciation to others? Do I give compliments, offer help, or buy small gifts? 2. What do I complain about most in my relationships? Do I wish people would spend more time with me, or help me out more? 3. What do I request from others most often? Your answers will point directly to your primary love language. Knowing this about yourself is the first step. Second, become an observer. Pick one important person in your life, a parent, a sibling, a best friend. For the next week, your only job is to be a love language detective. Don't try to change anything. Just watch and listen. How do they show love to others? What do they complain about? What do they ask for? You'll start to see patterns, and you'll form a hypothesis about their primary language. Third, conduct one small experiment. Once you have a guess about their language, do one small, intentional thing that speaks it. If you think their language is acts of service, do a chore for them without being asked. If it's quality time, put your phone away and ask them a meaningful question about their day, and then just listen. If it's words of affirmation, send them a text that says, "I was just thinking about how much I appreciate this specific quality about you." Don't expect a massive reaction. Just plant the seed and watch what happens. This isn't about manipulation. It's about connection. It's about learning that the greatest success in life isn't found in what you achieve for yourself, but in how well you love others. Mother Teresa was once asked how she measured the success of her work. She replied, "I don't remember that the Lord ever spoke of success. He spoke only of faithfulness in love. This is the only success that really counts." That was a summary of The 5 Love Languages for Singles by Gary Chapman. We've journeyed through the core ideas today, but a summary is like looking at a map of the Grand Canyon. The map can show you the trails and the landmarks, but it can never replace the feeling of standing on the edge, feeling the wind, and seeing the breathtaking beauty for yourself. If any of the stories or ideas we discussed today sparked something in you, I encourage you to pick up the book. Reading it isn't just about gaining information. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see and connect with every single person in your life. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.